Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to be here today with Dr. Ray Bowman, Small Business Development Center Director for the Economic Development Collaborative, Dr. Cynthia Herrera from the Community College District. She's the Vice Chancellor of Institutional Effectiveness, and Akbar Ali Khan, Deputy City Manager for the City of Thousand Oaks. Welcome. I'm so glad to host you at the FATHOMWERX Summit in 2024 here. Can you talk about what you've seen and some of the interdisciplinary collaboration, from the EDC, from the city, and from the academic institutions in the area, and how it all enables innovation in this space?
Well, I think what's great about the FATHOMWERX Summit, the whole idea behind it is, these collisions between the naval technology, what the Navy needs, to increase its strategic goals, but then bringing the entrepreneurs in who have unique solutions, and you need that collaboration to figure those things out, right? And the partnerships, that's another big, I think, takeaway of the FATHOMWERX Summit. We have the colleges, the universities here, the Economic Development Collaborative. We're focused on business support services. So, for example, we give free of charge through our SBA program, the SBDC program, technical assistance to small and medium-sized companies, many of which were at this summit, that we work with, contractors where we're helping them, identify SBIRs, STTR opportunities, looking at compliance. We were in discussions about international trade, and a lot of these products are exportable, given them understanding the kinds of compliance that you need to adhere to do that. At the same time, working with a lot of the startup entrepreneurs, many of them spring through our colleges and universities, and then engage with us, and then those partnerships working within the FATHOMWERX lab. So I think that one of the biggest takeaways about this summit is how you can bring all these partnerships together, and these different partners have different types of resources and talents that they're bringing to the table to result in some, just amazing successes that are a part of this program.
Yeah, it's been amazing to see the collaboration between, again, the cities, the local city enabling organizations, the Navy, the government. Can you, Dr. Herrera, can you talk about the academic pipeline? Because it's such a critical way to get workforces into local businesses as well as, other local employers like the Navy.
We're kind of getting out of the traditional education world. We're going more into a non-traditional aspect of really looking at working with our businesses. FATHOMWERX is excellent in the sense that it's project-based learning, which is exactly what our population of students need and really thrive with. We're really looking at going into businesses, meeting with them, identifying what their educational needs would be, whether it's upskilling their employees through some type of very unique training program, or whether it's offering pathways in the careers that we have at the colleges, and then integrating that into artificial intelligence, entrepreneurship, all of the things that we know are going to be with us in the future. We're really becoming a team member with the community, as opposed to being siloed. Education, they graduate and they go to business. What we're saying is we bring the businesses into our organization through internships, apprenticeships, job tours, mentors. We've been doing a lot of work with the Navy base and the commands, and we've developed a logistics pathway specifically for the Navy base. And we also are now taking naval engineers and bringing them into our organization to teach our students. So we're garnering faculty through our businesses that can talk to our students about what it's like to be in the real world. So there's a lot of shifts going on.
That's been awesome. I know about that logistics pathway. It's been critical for our workforce. We've had a couple of Ventura College students who are, out of high school in the local academic setting who've come through and done the field experimentation here at the Advanced Naval Technology Exercise Coastal Trident. And the things they learned by doing that field experimentation and getting their hands dirty, that's exactly what we need in the workforce. And the lessons they learn are awesome. In addition, I've had the opportunity, not as a faculty, but to go and do guest lectures in some of the intro to engineering classes at Ventura College. Highlight of my year. It's been the student response to that, and the interaction with the professors has been just amazing. Switching gears, Akbar, can you tell me about the city perspective and what that looks like and how the city government is engaged in both local economic side and working with the Navy and the port and the FATHOMWERX, and how does this all play from the point of view of the city?
Thank you. I think it was very fitting that today's session had all three of us sharing the stage together, because I think it was emblematic of really the theme we have as a county, and I think that is responsiveness to this burgeoning industry that we want to attract and retain. One example, and Dr. Herrera can probably speak more to it, is the biotech manufacturing program that they now have at the community college district. That was the result, a response to an industry need that we felt was going to be incredibly useful, because we knew we had to grow our workforce from within our county lines. Secondarily to that, the city's response to anytime we have an inquiry. I mean, it's kind of an all hands on deck sort of fire drill to make sure that we're getting timely responses back to any startups or any even medium-sized businesses that want to relocate to the county. Because we know that, as we spoke about during the panel, that's sometimes the difference between whether a business decides to locate here or not. And then thirdly, we're responding to the industry needs with respect to housing. One thing that we've heard time and time again is the single greatest impediment to either growing or starting my business in this area is, where are my employees going to live? Where are their kids going to go to school? We, of course, have partnered greatly not only with our college counterparts, but also with our public school counterparts who are making sure that we have high-quality public schools so we can attract those businesses. But housing is going to be at the forefront of this discussion, which is why I think for the first time in a little while, we're taking this problem quite seriously and making sure that we're developing those housing units. That way young employees at any point in their career really can come and start a business here and have somewhere to live.
Can I just say something about the housing? We had an economic impact study done on what our students gain from an associate's degree or certificate, and we know over a lifetime, students with an associate degree earn $1.8 million more than those that don't. And with a certificate, it's $1.4 million over a lifetime. So it's a huge impact. So when we're talking housing, we're together, we can partner, and we can really create an affordable opportunity for the future of our students.
So we've noticed that also with our new incoming workforce, right? That's been one of the biggest barriers, particularly for recently graduated students coming in. They'll accept a job offer with us, then look at the cost of living when they get ready to move here and go, whoa, no thanks, I'm backing out, right? So for a student that was looking, or a recent graduate, or someone looking to move to the area who's going to kind of have sticker shock, can you talk about some of the resources that are available to sort of get them information on available, housing options locally? Is there anything you can talk about with that regard? Or what would you want the public to know with regards to affordable housing in the county?
I think there are several cities within the county that are taking an active role in addressing our housing needs, and not just for young employees who are starting out in their career, but really across the entire age spectrum. A lot of cities have adopted what are called inclusionary housing ordinances. For any new construction, whether it be for sale or for rent, a percentage of that is being retained for affordable housing units, which of course students or people on the front end of their career would likely be eligible for. Dr. Herrera can speak to some degree about their project at Ventura College, and the state is actually putting funds towards how do we have less of an impact on our housing stock near educational institutions, which typically have a spillover effect into the neighboring community of raising rents because of simply demand. That's what it comes down to. And so the state has been instrumental in trying to create policy that will incentivize housing production, both from city policy as well as affecting the college district's plans with respect to constructing additional housing units.
We received $65 million for a housing project at Ventura College. Oxnard College and Moore Park College are in the planning phases, and we hope to get an additional funding source from the state for housing for our students. And as we talked earlier, our students, about 20% of our students are housing insecure. 20% of 42,000 students is a lot of students. And it's not just the students, it's their families that are also homeless, or housing insecure. So the projects that we're talking about are projects that will really benefit the economy in the future.
Speaking of benefiting the economy, right? It's critical to have that student population coming into the workforce, but also new businesses coming in. So, what advice could you give for a new business that was looking to open its doors in Ventura County, and what kind of resources are available to sort of encourage that business growth here?
There's a variety of resources, but the word resource is the key. For entrepreneurs, and a lot of the entrepreneurs we connect with, many of them have no one to connect with, no one to talk to. This was a lesson we learned during the pandemic, because the EDC, we were one of the focal points. We ran a call center during the pandemic, to distribute information about the grants and different resources. And it was interesting how many entrepreneurs we talked to that didn't know what was out there. For our own program, we provide an endless amount of technical assistance. Provided they're engaged with our program, we can work on a variety of issues. It could be business planning, it could be understanding rules, the regulations involved with starting a business. It could be working on their technology, challenging them about their innovation, working on QuickBooks, their social media strategies, all the way to operations, Lean Six Sigma, imports and exports. But then in addition to that, we leverage all of our technical assistance with a lot of our other programs. So, for example, we run well over a dozen different loan programs that are aimed at entrepreneurs that can't get traditional bank financing. Another big resource we have, we're an employer training panel contractor. So, for example, I had a defense contractor. We were able to access those funds to train over 100 people within that company to enhance their training and their abilities to perform. And then likewise, we work constantly with our partners, with the community colleges, with the universities. So I think one of the great things about our county is that there's no one bad call to make. In other words, we work with each other so much that, I get referrals from our cities, from our counties, from our partners at FATHOMWERX. But the first thing an entrepreneur needs to know is use your resources, use network within the community that you operate in. And there's a lot more help than you think there is.
That's awesome to hear, and thank you for that. I'm going to riff on a subject we've kind of alluded to a couple of times, but at an event like this, the Advanced Naval Technology Exercise, everybody kind of focuses on the technology piece, and it's STEM focused, and I need to be AI programmer or whatever. But you've mentioned logistics, you mentioned business stuff, Lean Six Sigma. We're talking about housing, right? A lot of this is technology adjacent enablers, and one of the things that we've recognized is the diversity of thought required to actually drive innovation. Can any of you talk about, whether it's in the academic pipeline or within the cities or within the county businesses, how the kinds of things? We're not just looking for scientists and engineers. We're also we need logisticians, we need business majors, we need marketing. Can you talk about how we're growing that workforce and how we can involve them all in a diverse innovation ecosystem?
Sure. One of the things that in part of our looking at what we're doing and doing it better is sitting down with the naval base and listening to the opportunities that they have for their future workforce. And we identified over 1,200 different positions that are going to be needed just in the 3 naval commands here in Port Hueneme. And it's from maintenance, manufacturing, automotive, electrical technicians, STEM, a lot of STEM and engineers, which we also integrate across disciplines. But it's interesting because our eyes were opened, because when we think of the Navy base, we think engineers, we think STEM. We were not aware of the diverse workforce that you have here. And so we're creating pathways based on what we now know are your future needs, and it's a wonderful partnership. We do the same thing with Pentar, which is a local organization, and we have Procter & Gamble. We have a fire technology a public safety program at Oxnard College, and what we did was we did fire safety training for Procter & Gamble so that they could be more safe and aware. We're doing English as a second language. A lot of ESL training is needed, so we're going into organizations, mostly hospitality and those areas that need, or agriculture that need ESL as part of their integrated work. As far as AI is concerned, we know that AI is going to rule the world in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's really changing our business practices and how we're looking at how we're running our courses and how we're teaching our students, how we're, for example, is Ray Bowman. He's one of our professors for one of our colleges, and he literally integrates the business concept of AI into a course that he's teaching. And one of the opportunities that we have as we're working with our businesses is we're bringing their employees on as our faculty. And it's the true integration of what is needed between business and education.
Well, what's so interesting is sort of the, how close the distance and relationship is between what we do and what the colleges, learning institutions are doing, because we're working one-on-one. I always say what we do is a contact sport. We're working individually with entrepreneurs, and so we did a study. It was the largest study in America on entrepreneurs getting through COVID. So we actually did a study of 22,000 firms up and down the state of California and what happened to them during COVID. And what we found was their chief survival skill was innovation. What was interesting was it wasn't just STEM level innovation. It was innovation in their business model, innovation in how they were able to pivot. One of the things that we discovered too was those whose digital skills weren't as up to speed, they suffered through the pandemic because they weren't able to take advantage of certain types of innovation. And so through that, since the pandemic, we had our digital upskilling initiative, $5 million initiative to work in different levels of businesses. So working with individuals who needed to be digitally upskilled on a very basic level, but then also helping individual entrepreneurs digitize their businesses and upskill them, as well as doing real specific kinds of engagements with different companies and firms that had different levels of digital upskilling needs, from cybersecurity to AI. You mentioned AI. That's a kind of a growing area that we're helping entrepreneurs in. On one level, we're helping entrepreneurs, like a contractor knowing how to, be more accurate on their bids using AI, and get the bids out faster, or applying for, government contracts and using AI to help do their research. But then we have, companies that are developing things in AI, and part of our innovation program through our California Accelerate program is bringing that subject matter expertise. So if we have higher level clients who are actually working in AI, we have the types of expertise to weigh in and challenge them on their innovations. So, I think what's great about our partnerships is we have a lot of the sort of on the ground tactile work that we're doing with these entrepreneurs that kind of helps inform us in what they need in terms of, their training and their upskilling. And that's something that we share with our partners. And, I think that's one of the strengths of how we work in this county.
I just want to add that this experiential learning that we're garnering through FATHOMWERX and all these opportunities, what we're really trying to do is create thought leaders, someone that is going to create the jobs of the future. We don't need tell me what to do, how to do it anymore. What we need is a creative individual that really understands the concepts and then is able to advance it to the next level and create what's needed in 2030, which to me seems like a long time away, but it's not that far. It's 6 years away. So that's, I think, is primarily another side effect of this partnership that we're having, and the wonder of it all.
I'm going to take your question in a little bit different direction, but when you look at what enables this ecosystem to exist, part of that I think is maybe one of our greatest strategic advantages as a region, and that is our quality of life that we can offer. You can have, even just at this summit here this week, you can have some really cool cutting edge technologies. At the end of the day, people may want to come work for you to be part of that, but at the same time, either themselves or they may have families that we need to support as a region as well. There are few places where you can get up, you can go surfing in the morning before work, you can finish work, you can take your dog for a hike in the hillsides after work. Our cultural offerings throughout the community, I mentioned our public schools earlier. You can choose to send your children to public school or private school if you'd like, but we have quality public schools where they can get an education. And I think all of that is what helps support everything that we're seeing here this week, because without that, you're kind of on an island. And we're not only offering a chance to work on these, cool and innovative projects, but we're also offering you and your family an opportunity to be part of our community.
I think that's what we all say. We're all in the business of creating hope and opportunity.
Well, and to your point about quality of life, one of the things we hear over and over again, and you hear this in the press a lot, companies leaving California, that whole narrative. And we did a research study a few years ago to calculate what is the net gain or loss in this county, and we've actually never had a net loss, right? If you look at both in and out. And what's interesting is looking at the companies that are coming into this county, and they're largely technology-based. They're smaller manufacturers. They're not the huge production manufacturers, but, high-tech, the kinds of talent they're looking for are at a high level. And then the other thing I see a lot of, too, is I do a lot of work in international business. And so we see a lot of really interesting foreign direct investment. And it's kind of a different narrative, right? When I talk to companies that have relocated here from Australia or from Canada or from China, the narrative isn't coming here because of, low cost, low labor. They're coming here because of the opportunity, both opportunity and lifestyle. Where do my executives want to live? Am I close to international markets? What is the opportunity for growth? And we often don't talk about that in regions. We usually slip into the how cheap is it to operate there, and we don't think about the opportunities, the sales opportunities, the technology transfer opportunities, and that's truly the strength of this region.
Riffing on that, can you talk about a lot of people have an opinion of the Navy and what we're focused on, but there is so much potential technology crossover and application crossover between what the Navy is interested in and ag or biotech or everything else in this area. So can you talk about some of the strengths of the area in the context of the port and the ag industry and biotech and proximity to, again, everything we just talked about, and how that enables technology collaboration and innovation in a space where, for example, yesterday we heard some specific organizations that are looking at either things like autonomous aerial vehicles to track marine mammals or fish populations, and apply those to ag or naval applications, right? So there's some of that technology diversity and crossover. Do you have any specific examples or other things you want to highlight with regards to the industrial diversity of the area and what that brings in terms of opportunity?
I think one of the interesting things about our region is the diversity of our region, right? A lot of times regions get focused because they're good at one thing. They're good at ag only, or they're good at technology only. But over and over again, the resilience and strength of our region centers around the diversity of it. We have a world-class ag economy here. We have a world-class biotech economy, world-class defense tech economy. And we all know that part of innovation are these collisions using different viewpoints, different takes on a problem. And so I think that's really unique to our area. And it's also really important, though, to kind of foster that, right? flow gas on that flame of making sure that we're connecting those entrepreneurs with different viewpoints together. And I've seen that over and over again. I've seen, collaborations with UCSB and bacteria that are solving problems in polymers, or looking at, how aerial vehicle drone technology on the defense side is being used to benefit forest fires. So all of these things are these just kind of interesting collisions. We've seen many stories through FATHOMWERX about students who just came here to get exposed. It was a field trip, and a field trip merged into solving a problem for the Navy and launching a business. And those kinds of things come from diversity, not from an economy where everyone's thinking with the same viewpoint or from the same industry. So I think that's really an important strength that we have to realize our county has.
And I think you bring up a really great point of cross-sectional talents and skills. And I think when you're talking technology, it touches every industry that we have in Ventura County. And when I look at the 5 primary industries that we focus on, which is manufacturing, healthcare, education, those particular systems are all going to lean heavily towards technology and technology advancement. So as we are growing our students, we look at those cross-sectional skill sets that are needed, and we integrate it into curriculum. And then we use our business leaders to help guide us and support us as we prepare the student for the future. So I think what we're doing right now is not unique, but it's unique for Ventura County to have such an integrated approach to what we're doing for our economic growth and workforce development.
I'll add a tidbit. This is mostly anecdotal, but I think what we have actually observed in our local workforce is kind of this cross-pollination between these different sectors. When you think about a labor force that you don't necessarily need to attract or bring in, but one that's already here, that becomes another strategic advantage for a region where if you are growing a business or starting a business in this region, you can tap into an existing labor market as opposed to feeling like you need to recruit an entire labor market.
Thank you so much for the thoughts. So closing out, if we do this right, you mentioned 2030 is around the corner, right? What does this look like in 2 to 6 years as we get there? I mean, the confluence of education, government, city government, local business. What's your vision for that time frame of how it looks like if we do it right?
COVID gave us a wonderful gift, and that's technology, software, and the flexibility to offer educational programs either online, in person, or what we call hybrid, which is some online and some in person. That flexibility allows us to touch a population of individuals that we may or may not have been able to touch. It also offers the workforce the opportunity to offer trainings in their organization with other organizations that are also on the online, so they're sharing ideas and they're sharing concepts and they're learning from each other. So I think the future is going to be all about how we can offer more accessibility to the educational opportunities, how we continue to integrate and become a unified force in trying to build economic growth. And I really think that we're going away from silos. I don't think we'll see silos anymore in the future. And I do believe that a lot of what we're trying to do right now is create the individual to be able to develop the future. We don't know what's going to happen, and we know electric cars are going to be around in 2030. Wasn't 2035, didn't our state say that we have to have electrification of our automation and of our travel? So we know that that's forthcoming, so we're preparing for it now.
I think in a word, when I look forward at a lot of my strategic goals within my organization, the easiest way I can put it is access and equitable access. In other words, our students. when I see a lot of the programs come through FATHOMWERX, and there's a lot of student programs, from grade school on that come in here, and it's just great to see because you don't know what your career is going to look like unless you have access to what the possibilities can be. And over again, whether it's students that interact through our program or through programs like FATHOMWERX, you don't know what you don't know. And it's hard to plan your future and career unless you're exposed to those things. So that kind of exposure is important. On the entrepreneurial side, again, I can't tell you how many firms I run into that still don't know that there's a California Compete tax credit, there's R&D tax credits, we can give technical assistance, we can subsidize their training. And again, it takes a lot of effort to get the word out, right? In some cases, it's literally knocking on doors, getting introductions, but it is so important for all of our entrepreneurs, all of our students, to have access to these valuable resources. So to me, that's a huge part. The other part is that what we do in this county is a global play. I very much believe that. I can't tell you how many people I connect with in other states, other regions, other countries that have an interest in investing and being a part of what we're doing here. So, again, access, and equitable access.
I know it's his turn, but I just want to say, imagine if in the future our high school students could have their associate's degree while they're in high school. Imagine, because through dual enrollment, that's possible. What we're doing is we're taking away the silos in education also. Believe it or not, K-12 was kind of separate from higher ed. Now we're totally integrating ourselves. So if our students, which 55% of our students are on financial aid, if they can save that financial aid towards a bachelor's degree and use it when they're earning their bachelor's degree and get an associate's degree in high school for free, then what we're doing is we're building the economy at a different scale, because those associate degree pathways can get into an apprenticeship, or they can go to a 2-year, or they can go right into job placement. So we're advancing education slowly but surely.
I think one of the other themes that I've seen and just listening to the conversations is signaling kind of a startup boom or renaissance of some sort. And so I think from the government perspective, our goal is how do we best prepare for that, knowing that that might be on the horizon, or we sure hope it's on the horizon. And so when I talked about housing earlier, we're seeing these trends throughout the county of adding housing units to our county, which is something that we've historically have kind of lagged behind. That's only one piece of it, though. If you look throughout the county, we're seeing major investment in infrastructure, water recycling efforts throughout the county, grid storage projects. These are all things that, unless we have laid the groundwork in advance, these companies and startups, they can't thrive or grow without it. So it's incumbent upon us as government agencies to make sure that the foundational elements are all there, so the private sector can come in and do what they do best.
I love it. Thank you. Particularly where you just went. So I'm the Chief Technology Officer at the Naval Facilities Engineering and Expeditionary Warfare Center. So an infrastructure technologist, if you will, right? And so everything, what I see is I want your students coming into my workforce. It's more representative of where we already live. They already have housing in the county, so they're not going to have that sticker shock when they move here. I want to be supporting your education programs. I would love to visit and teach in classrooms. I want ready access to local businesses. I want to collaborate with the local governments on our own infrastructure, because your electric grid is our electric grid, and your water system is our water system, and how we can, we're working on technologies to make the Navy side more resilient, but guess what? Those immediately apply back to the city. So I see huge potential for collaboration, huge opportunities for innovation and entrepreneurship. I want to see more events like this. I see us working together at this and others, and getting, again, that workforce into the field experimentation, because you always learn things you didn't think you were going to learn through that, and then you can bring that back. So a tremendous opportunity for collaboration. Thank all of you so much for participating in this today. Thank you for coming, and look forward to collaborating in the future.
And you're an excellent moderator.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.